All right, guys, welcome to the webinar. I'm Dr. Alok Trivedi. I want to welcome you guys all to the webinar and look forward to spending the next 45 minutes, not hours, with me. But I sincerely want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be here with me. I'm hoping that this information that I share with you today will change the course of your life and at least make a dent or an impact or make you think about things differently. I know it's been the culmination of a lot of years of work and research, and I've applied these tools myself. So I look forward to working with you in the next 45 minutes. And I'm not one of these guys that's going to spend a tremendous amount of time on all this prelim stuff. So I'm going to cut right down to the chase and get right down to the meat and potatoes because that's what you really want to know. Banishing business burnout, how to bring back power, purpose, and profits in your business and into your life. So who's this webinar for? This webinar is for anyone who's a business owner, entrepreneur, salesperson, or professional who's responsible for driving income into your home. It's for people who feel stuck or unfocused in their business and are almost feeling burned out so that they don't even care about their business anymore. It's about people who are dealing with arguments and conflicts or distance in their relationships because of money. It's for people who ask themselves questions like, how did I get here? Is this all there is for me? I mean, there's a lot of people that ask this type of questions. If you're spending days not wanting to get out of bed because you don't feel like you want to face the world, then you're in the right place. If you spend more time worrying about your business and money rather than laughing with your loved ones, then this webinar is for you. Then you're in the right place. Because in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to show you how to overcome stress, anxiety, even depression, which may be preventing you from growing your business, and you're not going to have to take drugs or be hyped up on caffeine to do this. I'm going to show you how to overcome resentment, emotional challenges, the lack of motivation surrounding your business, and to do this without having to talk to psychologists or therapists. I'm going to show you how to help resolve some of the stress-related issues like headaches and digestive problems, even a lack of sex drive and weight gain because of the cash flow challenges without having to be addicted to these dangerous drugs and their side effects. I'm going to show you how to overcome these fears that are holding you back from building the life of your dreams. Even if you've tried everything in the past and nothing seems to have helped, you get over the hump. I'm going to go show you how to break through any single financial plateau you're facing, no matter how stubborn it seems and how long you've been stuck there. We're going to cover that as well. I'm going to show you how to increase the sales in your business, regardless of past challenges or barriers that have kept you held back. Even if you went through major life challenges like divorce, like death in the family, or even major tax issues. I'm going to show you how we're going to overcome that as well. See, my promise to you is this, is a step-by-step strategy to overcome the burnout in your business and in your life. But before we do, I got to do a little bit of housekeeping and a little bit of house rules. So let's go over some strategies or some things here. Look, I'm not going to tell you that I've got these gimmicks and things for you to stick around to the end, but I'm going to recommend you do. I'm going to recommend you stick around to the end because if you do, I promise I'll give you the strategies you can apply to your life right away. These strategies work because they're rooted in science. There's no rah-rah behind it. I've done 21 years of nerdy research that I've put together. So these strategies are not just theories. They're scientifically done. So they work, is my point. And number 3, of course, is that I'm going to be sharing some stories with you. But the income results, they vary based on the industry and the type of business that people are in. But the principles of it are all the same, okay? But before we get into all of that stuff, let me check in with you to see where you're at, okay? Does this sound like you? Do you have sleepless nights, stressing over the finances because you have the pressure of driving income for your home and for your family? Do you take meds to cover up the stress, anxiety, even depression Do you feel like you're drowning or suffocating with all the burden on your shoulders? Do you feel like a liar to yourself, trying to be positive in the world, but on the inside, you just feel like an empty shell of a person because you can't seem to get ahead? Are the financial stresses not making enough money affecting your relationships or your marriage? Is your business headed on a downward spiral and you're trying to grasp at straws, trying to figure out how to survive? Does the stress, resentment, and guilt keep you up at night, hoping it magically disappears? Have you been gaining weight, unwanted weight, dealing with stress? Are you drinking in the evenings just to get through the days? Has all this stress evaporated your sex drive and make you feel like a robot rather than a person? Maybe even a failure. Do you feel like there's an invisible ceiling on your life and in your business? See, I get that and I understand that. But see, these are all just the symptoms. And these symptoms are there because you haven't done the one thing that I think is the solution, and it's answer the real problem. It's because you haven't made the shifts. Everything else was a symptom. This is the real problem. Once you make these shifts, guys, everything changes. You'll be able to make decisions on your life without really feeling bogged down of all the stress and the anxiety. You're going to feel empowered and strong, self-confident, in which in turn helps you make more money in your life. You're going to be those miserable days when you can't get out of bed because the energy is so poor is going to transform into days where you jump out of bed ready to tackle the day because you love your work and your life. You're going to stop checking your phone every 2 minutes at home. In fact, you may even turn it off and give 100% of your focused attention at being present. Your family is going to want to spend more time with you because you're no longer crabby and stressed out. That tension that you have in the workplace, that's going to disappear into a fun working environment. And the health-related issues like weight gain, stress, headaches, hormone problems, even the sex drive will all start to come back, guys, because you're going to start to feel alive again. And you're also going to get excited and inspired to create income for the ones that you love. Because all this is happening and your life is going to be clear and full of energy that's magnetic to all of those around you. And those long, lonely nights of eating chips and feeling lost or being frustrated is going to vanish. And you're going to move with more purpose again. That's been missing for so long in your life. But before I go into all that, let me take 2 seconds and tell you a little bit about who I am and introduce myself so you know why you should listen to me and who the hell I really am. My name is Dr. Alok Trivedi. I've spent the last 15 years in practice and built one of the largest healthcare clinics in the world, personally seeing over 1,250 patient visits a week, and over the course of my career seeing 350,000 patients. After that, I had the honor of becoming president of Mental Toughness University, and who has worked for every Fortune 500 company in the world, including Coke, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Toyota, and they've been featured on every major television network, including Good Morning America, The Today Show, Varney & Company, and I've been working with sales teams and C-suite executives for the last 10 years. I am also the author of the book called Chasing Success and the founder of Align Performance Institute, and a speaker and consultant to many different sales and leadership teams across the U.S. and Canada. And I've had the luxury of working with many celebrities using these same methods I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. I've shared these same strategies with some of these celebrities that you see here. So what are these 5 shifts? And we're going to get into that, but I got to tell you how I came across it. These 5 shifts, let me tell you how I discovered them. I was 19 years old, and I was a failing college student. And a friend of mine gave me a Tony Robbins CD set. And I went on to become a 4.0 student. So for the last 21 years of my life, I went to school and became a doctor And I had to figure out how this happened. And even through my so-called successes, I hit massive depression twice. And that was hard for me to admit. Being a successful guy, I had a hard time admitting that I hit depression. The first time was when I hit the mark of the largest clinics in the world. And the second is when I went flat broke after a horrible divorce. I had to go figure out why this happened. And when I was living these so-called success principles, how this happened to me. So let me tell you what I found out being on the inside of the industry for the last 10 years. Most of what's being taught, guys, is complete shit. I know, I said it. It's complete shit. Does that make sense? Like, if it worked, it should work all the time. And I'm sharing this with you because I'm no different than you are, guys. I'm no different. So stay with me because I'm going to show you how the science works, not just a bunch of motivational rah-rah. So I'm going to share with you these strategies. Please understand that not only did I have to do the research and figure out how to do this and create this process, I also had to put myself through it because honestly, I felt like my life depended on it. More importantly, I actually felt like my kids' lives depended on it. I mean, I was so broke, guys, at the time that I couldn't make the right decision in my life if it depended on it. I didn't have money, nor did I have a way of making any money. I mean, I could barely afford ramen noodles. And I was so immobilized, I could recite every episode of The Big Bang Theory. But when I started making these shifts and I started applying these strategies one by one, things honestly began to change. And my life took this turn, and I started to live again, feeling alive. And most importantly, though, what I learned was loving myself, regardless of what I've been through. So, but before we get into it, I've got to share the one thing you guys got to remember is this. These 5 shifts, it's going to help you gain massive clarity, remove unwanted pressures, transform that guilt, and turn that resentment into empowerment, and using that as fuel to help you regain that motivation, inspiration to build that business and income in your life. So let me share. Let's get right into this. The first shift that I learned is you stop living in fantasies. Yeah, you stop living in fantasies. And let me explain what I mean by that. After training over 20,000 people, I've learned that most people in today's world live in fantasies. And this destroys their entire business and their lives. It destroys it. And so let's define what a fantasy is so you understand it. It's a delusion about how things currently are versus something you imagined it to be and the way it was supposed to be. See, most people had a fantasy of how life was supposed to be, but their current life reality doesn't match that fantasy. This emotionally creates guilt and shame and anger towards yourself. And what you want to do is you want to blame everyone else for it. It creates a victim mentality. So the solution is this. This is what I learned, is you've got to create value-centric goals, or mission markers as I call them. See, these values, these are the things that your life demonstrates to you as important. These are things that are truly important because your life shows you what's important. Most people will lie to themselves and tell themselves that something is important, that it's not. Because when you do this, when you set value-centric goals, what's going to happen is you're going to start to feel inspired from within. You're not going to need outside motivation. You're going to know what you want and how to achieve it. You're going to start feeling like you can take on any obstacle that gets in the way. You even start dressing better and taking better care of yourself because you know that there's a specific objective and it's valuable to you. Your friends start coming out of the woodworks and start calling you because you're actually pleasant to be around instead of the jerk you've been. But if you keep living in these fantasies, your depression will continue. Your anger and your frustration towards yourself will build. You'll be grumpy and immobile. You'll gain more weight and you'll start living a sedentary lifestyle. And nothing will seem to matter, including your business, money, maybe even your family. See, because when you set value-centric goals or mission markers, they're aligned to who you specifically are. Most people write fantasies and goals and think that they're important to them, right? We see this every year on January 1st at the gym. By January 30th, everyone's gone. So these aren't real goals people are setting for themselves. These are delusions that they think that they want, but they don't really want them, or else they'd be in the gym. So these value-centric goals, guys, they're customized, and they're different for every person. Does that make sense? They're unique. And it's the access of this knowledge that creates great power and momentum. Okay? It's when you access it in the value-centric system, do you get more energy and power. I hope that makes sense, guys. Because that's so important to understand. Because what's valuable to one person cannot and will not be valuable to somebody else. It just won't work. And because it's a customized process with every single person on the planet. And no other person on the planet, including your husband, your wife, your uncle, your aunt, your brother, your dog, your parents, your society, your church, nothing can set your specific goals. It won't happen. It won't happen because you'll only do what's truly important to you. Myth number 2, right? Shift number 2, we got to create. We got to understand that that's to forget work-life balance. I'm saying it, forget work-life balance. It's a delusion. Here's what Harvard Business Review had to say about this. Even those who reject the idea of a zero-sum game fall prey to a kind of binary thinking revealed by the term we use to describe the ideal lifestyle, work-life balance. The idea that work competes with and ignores that life is actually the intersection and interaction of the 4 major domains: work, home, community, and the private self. So basically what it's saying is that work is a part of life. You can't have work being separated from life. And that's what people struggle with all the time. Because it's impossible for someone to be focused on work when they have pressures at home that are stressing them out, or even vice versa. It's impossible to be focused at home when you have work pressure stressing you. It works both ways. Either way, your performance is going to suffer. When you integrate these 2 parts of your life, one feeds the other, and your performance, it skyrockets. One has to feed the other. It's got to be the intersection of the 2. So the solution is this, is you raise your awareness and you start to see how one side serves the other. Both sides are never going to be the same and stress-free and easy. That's never going to be a reality. So the solution is to expand your awareness to see how stress of one helps you rather than brings you down. And in doing this, when you start doing this, you're going to feel a greater sense of purpose. You're going to be excited to go to work. Your energy is going to be fun and light. And the energy level, because of that, grows and increases. And you'll start to see the world as a much more abundant and opportunity-driven place, which it is. Your spouse, well, that's going to change because your spouse is going to begin to appreciate you because you're going to begin to appreciate all the things around you. Heck, you may even get some more sex. But if you don't understand integrated living, you're going to get stuck in the rat race of life like so many people do. You're going to try and keep everyone happy, but making yourself miserable. You're going to lose motivation, run out of time because of mismanagement of time. And this is going to create chaos, and the lies are going to be there trying to keep everyone happy. Well, your goals, they become a long shot because you'll allow one side of your life to pull you down. Finances will suffer, and you'll keep searching for this life balance, these tools out there, and they never work. If they all worked, there wouldn't be any of them there. So it's a myth. It's been a myth for a long time. See, integrated living shows you how one area serves the other rather than separate and create chaos. it in turn begins to perform in all parts of your life. The individual changes and their entire performance increases because of that. Let me give you an example of this. Here's one of my clients, Derek. Derek is a senior sales VP, already making a ton of money. Derek is a very, very wealthy man. I mean, he was making more money in a month than most people do in a year. And he was struggling, though, with his relationship, staying grounded, staying connected with his kids, and his career, and he was stuck in his career and his income ceiling for the last 5 years, and it was frustrating him. He was feeling separated and distant from his family because of the demands of his career. He couldn't help but feel alone most of the time, and he was having arguments and fights, basically lost his motivation or drive to do anything. He kept struggling with this emotional chaos, and he'd try and avoid it, but he couldn't. So once we got him integrated, his entire life and his income soared, guys. Here, I'm not joking. He made an extra $42,000 in 4 weeks, and he sent me a message saying, how on earth did this happen? I said, once you start getting integrated, you create new income opportunities. And they just did. Money started to show up in his world. He tried everything under the sun. He'd been to every seminar, every CD, every coach. Nothing could shift him. And in 4 weeks, we got him integrated, and his income nearly doubled. After the process, besides just making money, which is great, but he started feeling connection coming back with his wife. And he was able to use the time with his family and truly connect with his kids. And he felt complete and real. Here's Tony. Let me explain. Let me tell you about Tony. Tony's a single mom and a business owner. And her business began to plummet. And her sales started to just dive. She was ready to close shop. She was depressed, agitated, feeling as if her life was a complete failure. She tried taking vacations and getting away, but none of it worked. None of it worked. None of it got to the core of the problem. She heard me on this same webinar, and we started working together. And she was waking up 2 to 3 times a night because of the fear of the bills and the business. She was gaining weight, even though she was exercising and eating right. She was living in an extreme fantasy after an ugly breakup, and it was affecting every part of her life, including her business and money. Does that make sense, guys? When things are wrong in one area, it's going to affect you in every area of your life. And that's the thing that is so important to understand. So the first thing we did with her is we tossed her old goals because they weren't real and created truly authentically to her with being value-centric. She let go of the guilt and shame that was with her responsibility of being a mother and a business person. She began to get clarity in herself as a person and realized that the whole time she wasn't really being authentic to herself. And that single shift began the process of her increasing her sales by over 300% in 3 months. Astronomical. She began to tell me recently, actually, that she feels more energized in her life today than she ever has. It's pretty amazing. She's had a great transformation. And that's what happens with this process. It's absolutely amazing. But this third shift, guys, that I'm going to share with you is the secret weapon. Once I understood this, once I figured this out, and I learned it, I didn't do it alone. I had mentors and people teach me. But once I got this, everything in my life made sense. Everything I'd been studying, researching, all came together. And here's what it is. I call it aligned or objective reasoning. It's a process that clears the baggage from the past and breaks apart the fears that are stopping you and stopping people from moving ahead in their life. And this process is rooted in neurology, psychology, sociology, interpersonal neurobiology. I told you I was a geek. The bigger thing that happens with this process is the people that don't want to do anything with their lives, that are always grumpy, snapping. These people have transformed into fun-loving and a joy to be around because they now see life completely differently. And it's helped people who've lost complete motivation. Ask yourself, right, have you lost complete motivation? And that drive, because if that's crushing you, it's crushing your life. And that drive in your business and work came back with immense vigor. This is the same vigor that you started your career with. that same intensity comes back. See, because for so many years, right, we've been taught this old model of success psychology, I call it. And it's not just success, it's psychology, it's performance psychology, whatever you want to call it. But it's the old model. And the old model was, everyone talked about changing your beliefs, changing your beliefs, changing your beliefs. From Earl Nightingale to Tony Robbins to all these guys. They talk about changing your beliefs. So here's what I had to ask myself. I said, okay, before I change them, I need to know what they are. And because if I don't know them, how can I change them? And then I need to know, how did I get them? Because how can I change something that I didn't know how I got, so I don't know how to convert them? And here's what I learned. This is going to shock you when I say this. Here's what I learned. That the old model wasn't accurate. It wasn't accurate, because if it was and rooted in science, it would work 100% of the time. 100% success rate would be there, but it isn't. What we've learned is that it's 66% of the time it fails. 66% of the time. So you have a 1 in 3 chance of following that psychology that it's going to work for you. So what I did is I had to study for 21 years to understand the true science of success through the brain and neurology and how it works, so we can do this every single time. Right? Because the old model used to say that, well, your beliefs, they lead to behaviors. And your behaviors, they lead to habits. Okay? Great. So people would sit there and do endless affirmations all day long saying, I'm changing my belief, I'm changing my belief. So because I'm positive, I'm happy, I'm exciting, I'm wonderful. And they do this to themselves. Does it help? 33% of the time, yeah. 33% of the time. 66% of the time, those people went back to the same old thought patterns. Then what people would do is they'd get up at almost 2 a.m. because they just kept adding new things to this morning routine that they have to have. And that never lasted, because it lasts only a couple of weeks with people, and then they stop doing it. And then they say, I got to be a positive thinker. I got to be a positive thinker. And they realize after 2 to 3 days that, man, I'm such a horrible positive thinker, because it doesn't exist. The neurology doesn't exist of being a positive thinker. So people then start beating themselves up of being negative. So now you're being negative about being negative. It's backwards. It's backwards. It doesn't work, because the science the brain neurology doesn't work that way. So then people start, I just got to read more, I got to learn more. And there's nothing wrong with reading, don't get me wrong. But they'll change the way they think rather than use the information and assimilate into their own information. They say, well, this person thinks like this, I've got to now change my thinking to be like that. That is inauthentic. That will never work. Taking the information and assimilating it absolutely has value. And then people start meditating. Does that have value? Yes, it does. Is it going to change your beliefs and change your life? No, it's not. By no means. They'll do motivational CDs or change habits, which only works 15% of the time. Behaviors, 25% of the time. And your beliefs, maybe 33% of the time. But that's it. So I said, why would I go into a world where I have a 66% chance of failing in this model? So I had to create a new model. And that's what I did. That's what I did. Through learning and understanding and following my mentors and my teachers over the years, I discovered the new scientific way. And what it is that your perceptions lead into your values. And your values create your emotions. And it's this emotion that creates your belief. So in order to shift your beliefs, you really have to shift your perceptions. Because when you do this, then you create gratitude and self-appreciation. And any perception can be changed. We know this. And there's a process to do this. And this is what I discovered. When I discovered this, everything shifted in my life. Because it just started to make sense, just like Dr. Tim here, right? He's a perfect example of bipolarity in life. He's on this emotional yo-yo of motivational rah-rah seminars, CDs and coaches. He'd show up everywhere all excited, jacked up. When it came to performance times, you'd think that this guy was just on fire. And then he'd go home and he'd be miserable, suffering from anxiety and depression and he'd lay in bed all day. He felt embarrassed to the point that he hated looking at himself in the mirror. And this is a guy you'd look at and think, man, this guy's got everything. But he felt like he was a fraud. He would show up one way on the inside, on the outside, but he wasn't aligned or authentic to himself. So after the program, he became completely grateful for who he is. And it was an amazing transformation that happened with him. Completely grateful for who he is. No more motivational highs and lows. He stayed centered and found himself building his business more consistently and with clarity. His family and his kids, man, they enjoyed spending time with him because he wasn't lazy and sitting around playing video games all day. And he was authentic to himself. And when he did this, there was more smiles at home and more authenticity to who he really was. And his family and his life appreciated. And his business started to grow because of that as well. So let's do a quick recap. I've gone through a lot of information here already. And I hope you've been taking notes or at least had a chance to absorb some of this information. But let's do a quick recap on what we've covered up until this point. We've talked about creating value-centric goals. We've talked about Tony and her story, as well as Derek and his story. We've talked about integrated living and the power of using integrated living. We've talked about aligned reasoning. We've talked about the old model versus the new model. And those are the first 3 shifts that we've covered. And that's already there. Now let's get into the next 2 shifts, because once we bring this in, it's going to tie it all together for you guys. So stay there. Stay with me. I know you guys are there and you're dialing into this stuff. So stay with me till the end. The 4th step is what I called an aligned mission. And a mission is very different than a vision. Do not say that they're the same. Do not think that they're the same. It's very, very different. Every single person has a specific mission statement. And when you tap into the power and the energy and of this mission statement, the energy and vitality, they go off the charts. You stop wasting time and procrastinating. You get shit done. And you don't fill your days with other people's dramas because you've got better things to do. See, your mission is service-oriented, where your vision is your self-oriented. And the way to create this, here's the formula to create this. You take the greatest pains in your life, whatever that great pain is, how you want to serve others so that they don't have to experience that same pain as you did. And then you quantify it with a number. So maybe there's a pain that you went through that you don't want other children to go through. You write that, I don't want children to go through X, Y, Z. And I want to serve X amount of children. Now, if you put 1 or 2, that's the size and scope of your mission. But if you put something like 1 million, you awaken a real genius inside and a real leader inside of you. Because this inspired mission statement, it's your own. No one else can copy that for you. No one else can do that. It's your very own specific process. Because if you do this, let me tell you guys, your business will instantaneously expand. New customers are going to start showing up. Business will start showing up. You're going to create the law of supply and demand, and new income opportunities show up because of it. Your mission statement is something you will go after despite the pain to achieve it. You'll awaken that inner leader. Every great leader or a person has had a massive contribution to the world, has had a massive mission statement. But if you don't, you're going to find yourself always looking for the next best thing. You're going to be distracted and stay unfocused. Your income is likely to stay consistent or even stagnate. You find yourself judging yourself where your life currently is. You see things as in the way rather than on the way. And your self-worth will slowly but surely deteriorate. You start gaining unnecessary weight that could even develop into hormonal issues, and you'll lean on alcohol, drugs, caffeine, and even prescription meds to stimulate your life. And that's not what I want for you by any means. The final shift I have for you is invest in mentoring. invest in mentoring. I can't urge this enough for you guys. Mentoring is one of the most important things I've ever done in my life, because what it does is you're not sitting there trying to figure it out alone. That can cost you hundreds, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of wasted time, energy, and effort. Mentors help you leverage their experiences and their resources. Now, let me be direct here, okay? The biggest secret I've learned over the years is to get mentoring from someone who knows how to do it. Let me rephrase that. Get mentoring from someone who knows how to do it. I've personally spent over $400,000 in my learning and mentors over the years. And in full transparency as well, I'm not saying I'm your mentor. I work with a very select group of high-performing people who really want more out of their life because they believe they're meant for greater things. These people are just stuck, but they have to qualify into it. They have to qualify into it. So what I do is not for everyone. So I'm not saying I'm your mentor, but what a good mentor should do for you is they should teach you how to think, because they can see the challenges ahead of time before you do. They can navigate your thinking for the events before you even see it. So they can prepare your thought process. They can help you get through the roadblocks that are stopping you and you can't break through for yourself. They have the skills to be able to assist you in creating your vision and can save you years of aggravation and frustration. Because by doing this, honestly, guys, they're going to show you exactly what works and what doesn't. It's going to keep you from wasting time, money, energy, resources, trying to do things that they've tried and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So it's going to save you all the energy of that. It's going to get you to the result faster. It's going to show you what to do through their experience and through their knowledge. All of this is to have one thing. It's to have your desired achievement without the struggle, right? Without going through the unnecessary struggle. You don't need to. They're going to give you a grander awareness so you can stand on their shoulders and the attainment of where you want to get faster, in less time, and less expensive. Less anguish and pain to get you what you want. That's that simple, right? And it's so important in this. But let me explain a couple things about mentoring. Whoever you use, get an expert. Get an expert who does this for a living, not someone who screws around with it as a hobby part-time. If they're doing their full-time job somewhere else and they're doing this as a hobby, they're not qualified. They're not a great expert. That's like asking someone like Joe Madden or a little league coach to coach the Chicago Cubs. Like, it just doesn't make sense. You need a professional coach. You need the best coach to coach the best team to get the World Series win. That's just how it works. So don't waste time and energy on people who don't do this full time, because if they're good, they'll make it a living. I promise. I see some people think, well, I've done mentoring before. It's all the same. It's all the same. Every mentor is the same. It's just not true at all. Not true at all. Every mentor is just different. It's just different. Because, there are people, let me be transparent. There are people out there who just don't qualify, and honestly, they'll charge you peanuts because of that. They'll charge you peanuts for their work because they don't value their work, because they don't produce results. A good mentor is going to be expensive, plain and simply because they get results and they know what it means to your life. So it's very, very simple. Get a mentor who's an expert and make sure they charge you something for it, because that's how you're going to get that result. Let me tell you about Maria. This was one of the most amazing cases I had, and a great client, and I loved working with this young lady. She's a female entrepreneur building a business, stuck, and she was depressed for 8 years by her own admission, as well as medical doctors and clinical psychology. Been on meds and seeing psychologists for 8 years, couldn't make money. Honestly, her business was trapped because of the way she thought about things. And building business wasn't happening. She was beating herself up for 8 years. Her business was drowning. She had to get a side job because she couldn't afford it just staying in business. She spent tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to stay in business, as well as trying to handle this depression. And after years of depression and medications and drugs and prescription meds, in my program, in one 45-minute call within the Aligned Mastery program, her depression was gone instantly. It was history. She got off of all her drugs, all her meds, and started to enjoy life again. And to be full disclosure, she chose to get off her drugs. I didn't tell her to. I can't tell her to. She chose to get off her drugs and medications. Her family and her sons started noticing she was getting life back into her face, especially into her eyes. And if she didn't invest in herself, she would have been taking the same crap, walking down the exact same road, going down the exact same death course she was on before. That one investment changed the course of her life. That was pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful. So today I promised you some things, guys. I promised you how to overcome the stress, anxiety, even depression, which may be preventing your business growth without having to take drugs or being hyped up on caffeine. I promised you we'd cover how to overcome resentment and emotional challenge due to lack of motivation, preventing your business growth. We also talked about how to help resolve some of the stress-related health issues, like headaches, digestive problems, lack of sex drive, weight gain because of the cash flow challenges, and how all of these emotional factors and thinking factors prevent you and stop you from building business and gaining wealth. We've gone through all of this already today, guys. So here's what you need to succeed. You got to set value-centric goals. You do. You just got to set value-centric goals. You know how to do that now. You got to integrate your business and your life. You got to function from objective or aligned reasoning. You got to create an aligned mission statement. And you got to get mentoring. You got to invest in mentoring. It's so important for you. So the truth is now, guys, you have a choice. You have a choice. You now can take this information and you could do nothing with it. You could do nothing with it and say, that was great, that was fantastic, bravo, fantastic. And you could do nothing with it and continue to live your life the way that you are, feeling like crap, fighting, arguing, money challenges, business challenges, stress, emotional challenges, guilt and shame. You can stay there. Or you can choose to take this information and do something about it. Start living your life with a magnetic personality. Change the guilt and transform it into a powerful, powerful motivator. Use it to be on your way rather than in your way. You can make this choice today by using these strategies. And that's the beauty of this process. Now, if I can help in any way, I'd love to have the opportunity. My team and I have set aside some time to speak with you personally about how you can apply these strategies into your business and your life today, right away. Whatever your biggest challenges are, we've seen them and know how to conquer them. We know how to do this. On this session, we'll work with you for 45 minutes to craft a step-by-step game plan, customized to you, the same way my clients do, to reignite their power, bring back their purpose, and help them make more money. And the cost is absolutely free. It's absolutely free. But there is a catch. And here's the catch. This isn't for everyone. This is not for people who are in victim mentality. This is not for people who invest in programs and do things but do nothing. They're not for people. It's not for people who are all talk and take no action. I don't work with those people. This is for someone who is sick of living in misery and know that their life is worth more and want to make a difference in the world. They're for people who are independent and action takers. For people who want more out of life and are just looking for someone to guide them. That's what this is for. And if this sounds like you, then book one of the few appointments now. You can book one of the few appointments now. You're probably asking yourself, well, why would you do this? Why would you do this for free? Well, look, here's the deal. I love giving back. I love helping people. And I know a lot of times for people, this 1 hour shifts the course of their life. I've seen it happen way too many times. It's happened over and over. But at the same time, there's going to be some of you that may need our help. And if you do, we can discuss that. And if not, that's okay as well. But the intention of this call is not to put you into something. It's to provide you value so that you can make the best use of it. And if you're a good candidate, and I do extend an invitation to the program, you'll be put through the exact same process that you heard about earlier with my previous clients. So if this is something that you want to be a part of and want to have your breakthrough session, I suggest you go to alignedmastery.com. There's only a few spaces. They're very limited, and they only have a couple days. So alignedmastery.com, go to the schedule page, fill out a time that is convenient for your schedule, and pick a time that works for you. And then it'll take you to another page with a short application. Fill out the application so that way when I get on the call with you, I know exactly what the challenges you have and how we can make the most of that 45-minute call. If you fill that out, then I know exactly how to help you. If you don't, I don't know how to help you. So please make sure you fill out that schedule and the application as well. I promise you, this hour is going to be a tremendously, tremendously powerful hour for you, your life, and your business. I've seen it transform lives many, many times. So before we leave, I did want to share one final thing with you from someone who is not my client. And he actually just had a breakthrough call with me. And he wrote me this letter, and he asked me to read it if I ever do programs in the future. And so I am. His name is Mark, and he said, I wanted to take a moment to speak to people who are serious about reaching their full potential and who may be considering working with Dr. Trivedi or even one of his breakthrough calls. First of all, I have 0% for zero tolerance policy for trainers and speakers who waste your time with a lot of empty fluff. Few things make me more angry than that. You will not have to worry about that with Dr. Trivedi. Some of the most important insights I have gained in my efforts to grow and make progress towards my goal have come as a result of on these calls with Dr. Trivedi. Your time will not be wasted in the least bit, and you will without a doubt gain new valuable insights that will help you overcome internal blocks of all kinds that are holding you back from getting what you want in life and is currently keeping you from being the person you know you are capable of becoming. On a personal note, I received my breakthrough call today from Dr. Trivedi, and he certainly didn't have to go through the extent that he did because he's in high demand and could have made a lot more money doing other things. We spoke for about an hour on personal growth and progress, and once again, he provided some additional insights that were helpful to me personally. It's almost impossible to articulate. This is a real, genuine person, and I feel good about recommending him to you. There are no high-pressure sales pitches. There's real interest and concern regarding my progress and well-being. That is extremely, incredibly rare and refreshing to find at the same time in a world where trust for leaders of all kinds in general seems to be at an all-time low. You can feel good about the fact that he really does have your best interests at heart. And he really is interested in helping you become everything that you are capable of becoming. I can't thank Mark enough for that letter because that's honestly how I try and portray my life and my work. So I can't recommend and I can't tell you that I look forward to serving you and helping you on this call. And I hope you set up a time on the Aligned Mastery calls, and I look forward to talking to you then. I want to thank you guys again for spending the last 45 minutes with me. And I'll see you on the call. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.